Hey, what's up guys, Soaps here, welcome back to another video of our Sketchbook Chronicles series. Today I'm going to be talking about some rule changes and some examples for deck building. And I want to give a shout out to Eternal Light TCG because he recently did a video on how to build a deck in his game. And I want to not only shout him out because he's a good YouTuber, but also because I am kind of doing the same thing that he did. A little bit of an added twist. So go check out him, Eternal Light TCG. I'll have him in the description. Really like his videos. And yeah, so we might as well get right into it. So first I'm just going to go over the basic rules. If you guys have stayed with me for any amount of time, you'll know that I made Sketchbook Chronicles, which is, this game is basically a remake of it. So it has mostly the same rules. Mannequin Man, you can go over there. So up first, there's two types of cards in the game. There's monsters, which is what you'll normally see in decks and packs. They're the majority of cards in the game. And then you have page cards, which used to be known as spell cards, which I sometimes call spell cards because I'm really smart. So if we just go over the things on a card, we have the name, the type, the rarity, the text, which is usually its ability. Actually, all the time it's the card's ability, because so far we haven't made any card that does not have an ability, or maybe the conditions for summoning it. So it's really just any text concerning the card. Attack and block, which comes into battling, and then ink cost, which is how you place the card from your hand to the field. Next up, we have page cards, which are, if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, they're the spell cards in the game. If you've ever played Pokemon, I said that really weird. If you've ever played Pokemans before, it would be the trainer card of that game, or the item card. So it's a card that its only purpose is for its ability. So you place this card down to use its ability. And most page cards don't have an ink cost, but for example, if I can pick this card up, it's stuck to my desk here, the Trees of Eyes, it costs 1 ink to place. So this page card says the monster this is attached to can only attack one more time, which means that you equipped it to a monster and that monster can only attack one more time. So page cards have rarity just like monsters, and sometimes can have ink costs, like I said. So I may as well just go over rarities. I explained this in the pack opening video as well, if you want to go check out that video. There's commons, uncommons, rares, and epics. In that order, they're more rare, if that makes sense. And then there's 5 types: storm, robot, magic, and earth. And flying. So to say, that's only 4. So those are the cards in the game. There's a variety of monsters and page cards, which makes it a trading card game. And now we may as well look at a practice hand for the game. And when the game starts, you draw 5 cards. Actually, hold up. Before we do that, let's talk about our deck. So in deck building, in Sketchbook Chronicles, you're going to want to make a deck of 25 cards. That is, I'm going to say that's the minimum. And then I guess you can just make decks to 1,000,000 cards and go to your heart's content. Is that practical? No. But why not? We don't really have any tournaments or anything going on with the game, so it's you can just have fun. So 25 card decks. How would I say you should make your deck? I would say 15 monsters and then 10 page cards, because if you have a hand that's all page cards or just 1 monster and you only gain 2 ink per turn on your turn, so we'll talk about that when we go into the practice turn. But if you're only gaining 2 ink per turn and you have all page cards in your hand and then a monster that costs 6 ink to place, you're going to have to wait 3 turns to place that monster, and page cards aren't really going to help you defend or attack. So it's better to have more monsters in your hand because that allows you to have more opportunities to attack and defend. Your monsters are going to be dying, so you need to place new ones to replace them. So you want to have monsters, but you also don't want to have too many monsters that you can't get the edge on your opponent with that page card that allows you to draw 2 cards or destroy 1 monster that your opponent controls. So you want to have some page cards, but not enough, not too many, and not too less. So I would say a good default for page cards would be 10, and then monster cards 15, which will give you the 25. That's what I do when I make my decks, and it seemed to work out pretty well. So you have your deck of 15 monsters and 10 page cards, and you draw a hand of 5 cards on your first turn. So let's say this is your hand from the cards that I just had. You have 2 page cards, and then you have 3 monsters. So that's a pretty good ratio. And you have 2 4-inks and a 6-ink monster. So maybe if you see this and you keep drawing these 4 inks at the beginning of your turn, maybe you need to decide that, oh, I need to move and make change some things in your deck where you have more 3-ink monsters or maybe more 2-ink monsters so that you can get cards down on your first turn. But as of now, you can't place any cards on your first turn. So the turn started, you're going first, and you have 2 ink. So what would you do? I would probably say use Fly Away, which is discard a card from your hand and gain 1 ink. So let's say, okay, well, Seaburger could be good later on in the battle. I don't see myself using Spashy right now because that's really only good if you have other monsters that you can easily place, and right now I don't, so I'm going to discard that, gain 1 extra ink, and I don't really want to discard my Monocle Man, because when he's attacked, your opponent must discard 2 cards, so I can place him down early in the game and have him be a pain for your opponent. So there goes my Fly Away and my Spashy, so I'm going to, I don't have to pay anything to place Fly Away, and I'm going to discard Spashy, and they go in the discard pile, which is, so you have a deck slot, and a discard pile slot, I guess that's what we're calling them. And then you can have up to 5 monsters on the field at one time, which doesn't usually happen because your opponent usually can kill them before you can get that many. That's just part of the game. So you can have 5 monsters on the field, and you can play as many spell cards as you want on your turn. So if you just had a whole hand of free, I called them spell cards, didn't I? If you can have a whole hand of page cards and throw them all down that cost nothing, like as long as you have the ink to play them, throw them all down and nothing, like there's no requirement, there's no constraint on how many page cards you can play per turn. And there's also no constraint for monster cards. So if I had 10 ink, which is not possible, you can only have a maximum of 6 ink when you save up. So if you didn't know, you have 2 ink this turn, but next turn, if you don't place anything, you'll have 4 ink, and then next turn, if you don't place anything, you'll have 6 ink, and then after there, it caps off. So let's pretend that Seaburger was a 2 ink monster. If I had 6 ink, I could place down both of these cards on 1 turn. But when we do get into battling, there is a restraint on that you can only attack with 1 card on your turn. So now I have 3 ink. I would probably have to wait till next turn and see what my opponent does before I decide if, like, maybe I'll draw another card that is cheaper that I want to place or something that's going to change what I want to do. But as of now, I'm probably going to place Monocle Man and it'll leave me with 1 ink left over, because if I have 3 now, then I'll gain 2 next turn, and then I'll have 5, and then I will subtract 4 when I place Monocle Man, and now he's on the field. Yeah, let's say that happens. So now let's get into battling. That was a demo turn. I got to tell you what I would do on a turn. Let's get into battling. So we have Penguino Man. This is a 4 ink monster, and we got Monocle Man, which is a 4 ink monster. Oh, they have relatively close stats. Well, I mean, that's okay. So let's say I have Penguino Man on the field, and it is my monster. I placed him last turn or something like that, and our opponent, excuse me, has Monocle Man, and it's our turn. We have not attacked yet, So we decide we are going to attack, and we're going to try and kill the opponent's monocle man. So I have 370 attack, and whoa, just took out my mannequin man. There we go. And Monocle Man has 360 block. So Penguino Man would win, killing Monocle Man because he has 10 more attack than their block, and now Monocle Man is sent to your opponent's discard pile because it is their monster. So that's how attacking works. And okay, now let's say if it was your opponent's turn, they had Monocle Man and we had Penguino Man. He attacks. He has 380 attack, if you can't see that, and Penguino Man has 380 block. So we technically tied, and both of our monsters would be defeated. So that's how you kill monsters. There's not really such thing as defending. Your opponent gets to choose who they're attacking and which monster will defend. So let's say I have Will the Wizard Peters over here. This is actually a copy, that's why. It actually doesn't look that bad on camera. Usually my copies from my printer look a little bit more dull than the originals. That's why I usually record with the originals, but he looks okay. That's just a weird side note that I realized. So let's say I have two monsters on the field. The opponent gets to choose which one he wants to attack, whether it be Will the Wizard Peters or Penguino Man. Usually you want to do the one that you can kill and not the one that will end up killing you. Oh yeah, that's a good point. If the attacking monster has lower attack than the opponent's monster's block, the attacking monster will lose and be sent to the discard pile. So now we'll get into points, which is how you win the game. The default that I usually do when I play with family or with friends is that 15 points and you win, but you can really set any amount of points that you want for that game, depending on how long that you want it to last and maybe how different strategies you're going to play. Because if you only going to 5 points, and you're going to see who can get the strongest monster out and kill all your opponent's monsters first. And maybe if you're doing 25, you're going to play longer and try and set up to win the game in the long run. So you get to choose what points you want to do. I would say 15 is a good default. And how you get points is through battling. So when I kill a opponent's monster, I gain 1 point. When your opponent kills your monsters, they gain a point. So let's say this is a different battling situation. Your opponent has placed no monsters. And I want to clarify this right now. I just thought of it, is that when it is your first turn, whether you're going first or second, if it's your first turn, you cannot attack. So you just started, you have your 2 ink, you have your 5 cards in your hand, you cannot attack. It's your opponent's turn, they have their 5 cards, they have their 2 ink, they cannot attack. And then it goes back to you, and now you can attack because it's your second turn. So no cheap shots, because what I'm about to explain, that would, if I allowed that, that would be pretty scummy if you were going second. So let's say your opponent has no monsters on the field. It's your second turn. You can now attack, and your opponent's placed no monsters. So you can attack them directly, is what I call it. And if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, you probably heard of this term. And you just attack the opponent. You gain 2 points instead of 1. So it's better to get direct attacks than it is to just pick off your opponent's monsters. That's why it's kind of a consequence if you're just sitting there not placing any monsters and saving up for a really strong monster that can bite you in the butt because you're not placing anything, and now you can get direct attacked. So that's how direct attacking works. And I think that's really it. So like I said, you can place as many page cards, just caught myself there, as you want on your turn. You can only attack once with one monster. Say you have Monocle Man and Penguino Man out on the field, you can only attack with one of them. Usually you want to do it with the one that maybe has an ability that's better than the other, or maybe one that has higher attack so that it doesn't die. That's a pretty big part. Oh, and if you suicide and your monster dies, or if you tie and both of the monsters die, you both gain a point. Or whoever's opponent monster dies, they gain a point. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, that was kind of my rule explanation video. Hopefully that wasn't too long. If you've stayed with the channel, you probably know most of these already. Probably should have said that at the beginning, now that everybody's watched this, but you can watch to the end. That's cool too. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.